him just to be known as a killer or a murderer, and that he was a great kid, a great son, and a great brother.
Good morning, Sheriff Michelle Cook here from Clay County, and I am here this morning to report some just terribly tragic news. Just after midnight this morning, our 911 communication center received a call from a young man who stated he had just killed his parents. He stated that deputies could find his parents at the house and that he had walked just over a mile away to a church, and he would await for deputies to arrive to take him into custody.
He told me that he loved me, and he told me that he was just calling to tell me good night. Trevor isn't a bad person. He made some bad mistakes, and he will suffer the consequences of them, but that's not all he was.
On August 4th, 2025, a 911 dispatcher in Clay County, Florida, received a call that would send shockwaves to the quiet community of Midburgh.
After the shootings, the sheriff says Lee walked to a Cross Point church where he called 911, confessing to the crime, asking the dispatcher for prayers.
I'll listen to you.
Well, I was going to ask if you could pray for me, ma'am. Right now.
I'll definitely be praying for you, son.
On the other end of the line was a 14-year-old boy standing alone in a church parking lot, roughly a mile from his home. His words were calm, almost attached. "I just killed my parents." The boy's name was Trevor Lee, and within the hour, police would confirm that his confession was horrifyingly accurate. But here's what makes this case so disturbing. The reason behind these murders wasn't years of abuse, it wasn't self-defense, and it wasn't some elaborate plan. It was an argument over a video game request that his parents had denied. Tonight, we're breaking down every detail of this tragedy. How does a seemingly normal teenager go from asking for a game to pulling the trigger on the two people who gave him life? What happened in those final moments inside the Lee household? And what does this case reveal about the darker side of adolescence?
The Trevor that did this, I don't know that Trevor. And the Trevor that I knew and all of our friends knew, I will continue to be friends with him. And I pray that the Trevor that did this died last night.
Stay tuned as we reveal everything about this case. Drop a comment and let me know what you think about this story. Welcome to our channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Like and share this video to help raise awareness and spread caution. Let's begin.
Tonight, an update to a tragic case that's rattled Clay County. Today, a Clay County grand jury has indicted a 14-year-old boy on 2 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of his parents. And that teen is now being tried as an adult.
David Lee, 44 years old, and Brandi Smith, 45, were by all accounts devoted parents. Friends and neighbors described them as loving, caring, and deeply committed to their family. They were well known in their Midburgh community, the kind of people who'd wave from their driveway and check in on neighbors.
She was a happy person. I mean, just a good person all the way around.
James Lewis is cousins with Brandi Smith and says her family was like any other.
Every time I seen them laughing, joking, doing family things.
Their son, Trevor, was 14, a teenager navigating that difficult space between childhood and young adulthood. According to those close to the family, Trevor was used to getting what he wanted. He'd been described as spoiled, someone who rarely heard the word no. Kyrie Beeman, Trevor's best friend, would later speak to investigators about the boy he knew. He'd talked to Trevor just the night before the murders. Nothing seemed off. Nothing raised alarm bells.
He told me that he loved me, and he told me that he was just calling to tell me good night. Trevor isn't a bad person. He made some bad mistakes, and he will suffer the consequences of them, but that's not all he was.
Kyrie remembered Trevor as having positive qualities, as being a regular kid with normal interests. This wasn't a teenager with a documented history of violence. As of the initial investigation, authorities confirmed there was no established background of issues, no prior run-ins with law enforcement, no red flags that anyone could point to, which makes what happened next all the more difficult to comprehend. August 4th, 2025. As evening approached, Trevor made a request. He wanted a game, the specific details of which game haven't been publicly released, but what we do know is that his parents said no. For a teenager who was accustomed to getting his way, this refusal sparked something. An argument erupted between Trevor and his parents. Voices were raised. Tensions escalated. What happened next is where this case crosses from family dispute into unthinkable violence. Trevor left the room. He knew where his parents kept their gun. He retrieved it, and in moments that would destroy 3 lives forever, he turned that weapon on David Lee and Brandi Smith. 2 shots, 2 parents, both dead. The murder weapon belonged to the victims themselves, a fact that raises difficult questions about firearm storage and access in homes with teenagers. Investigators later confirmed the gun was believed to be the parents' own. As for whether anyone else was home at the time, that detail remained under review during the initial investigation. What we do know is that after committing these murders, Trevor didn't barricade himself in his room. He didn't try to run away to avoid consequences. Instead, he walked out his house, leaving behind the only home he'd ever known, now a crime scene, and began walking through his neighborhood. Trevor walked for about a mile. His destination wasn't random. He headed straight for a nearby church. When he arrived, he pulled out his phone and dialed 911. He didn't claim it was an accident. He didn't make excuses. He simply confessed, "I killed my parents." Then he waited. When police arrived at the church, they found Trevor exactly where he said he'd be, cooperative and calm. Meanwhile, other officers were dispatched to the Lee family home on the other side of town. Inside, they discovered the bodies of David Lee and Brandi Smith, along with a murder weapon. Sheriff Michelle Cook of Clay County addressed the media shortly after Trevor's arrest. She confirmed that the incident appeared to stem from a domestic argument and emphasized that investigators were treating this as an isolated case, not part of any larger pattern of violence. Let's jump into the sheriff's address.
Good morning, Sheriff Michelle Cook here from Clay County, and I am here this morning to report some just terribly tragic news. Just after midnight this morning, our 911 communications center received a call from a young man who stated he had just killed his parents. He stated that deputies could find his parents at the house and that he had walked just over a mile away to a church and he would await for deputies to arrive to take him into custody. Deputies responded immediately to both locations, the church and then to a home on out here in the Middleburg area. When deputies arrived to the church, they took 14-year-old Trevor Lee into custody. When almost simultaneously deputies arrived to the address in question, they found 2 deceased individuals inside, David Lee, 44 years of age, and Brandi Smith, 45 years of age. Both of the deceased appeared to have gunshot wounds. Based upon our preliminary investigation, and we're still very early in this investigation, it appears that there was some sort of domestic argument last night between Trevor Lee and his parents, and that this shooting culminated from that argument. This does appear to be an isolated incident, and we have no further threat to our community at this time. Again, this is a very active scene. Our detectives are working diligently to try to figure all of this out. We do want to extend our deepest sympathies to the family, the friends, and all of those who are affected by this heartbreaking incident, and we would like to ask anybody in the community that may have some information regarding Trevor Lee or his parents to please reach out to us at 904-264-6512. And with that, I will take any questions.
Did the teen have any prior mental health history, anything like, visiting the guidance office at, school, or any therapy, any Baker Acts?
That we're looking into that. That's going to be part of the investigation. You think about this just happened at midnight last night, just after midnight, and we're here early Monday morning. So all of that is going to be looked at. His history at school, any previous contacts, we don't know right now, but that'll be part of the investigative process.
Just going by names alone, biological dad, do we have a relation with the woman?
I believe these are both his biological parents at this time. I know the father is for sure.
Just with different names, I was curious.
Correct.
Was it the parents' gun or was the kid's gun?
At this time, we believe it's going to be the parents' gun, but we're still, again, looking into that through talking to him, finding out where the gun was, how he got a hold of the gun, how did he know the gun was there. The gun was recovered at the scene. He left the gun at the scene when he walked to the church to call 911.
Were they both shot just one single time, and if so, where?
That I do not know. Again, part of the investigative process.
And additionally, was there anyone else in the home, maybe a sibling who was obviously not harmed but was just in the home?
At this time, it appears that only Trevor and his parents were in the home when this incident occurred.
Anyone else?
Anything else? Again, appreciate you guys coming out, and just, again, if any citizens have any information about Trevor Lee, please give us a call, 904-264-6512, or send us a Safer Watch tip. Thank you.
Know, real quick, do you know if you've had any incidents at the home? Have you guys ever had to respond to the home?
I don't know the answer to that yet. That's going to be part of the investigative process. Listen, we're still early, very early in this. Detectives, our crime scene technicians are still on scene. This is very, very early in this. Thank you.
Following his arrest, Trevor Lee faced the full weight of the legal system. Prosecutors charged him with 2 counts of second-degree murder, 1 for each parent. Now, you might be wondering why second-degree murder and not first-degree. The distinction matters. First-degree murder typically requires premeditation, planning ahead of time with intent to kill. Second-degree murder, while still incredibly serious, involves intentional killing, but without that element of advanced planning. In Trevor's case, the charges suggest prosecutors believe these killings happened in the heat of the moment, during that argument, rather than being something Trevor had plotted out beforehand. At 14 years old, Trevor's age becomes a significant factor in how his case moves forward. Florida law allows juveniles to be charged as adults in certain serious cases, and double homicide certainly qualifies. The decision of whether Trevor will be tried in juvenile court or adult court would have major implications for his potential sentence. If convicted as an adult, he could face decades behind bars, potentially life imprisonment depending on how the case proceeds. If tried as a juvenile, the consequences would be different, with possible release when he reaches a certain age. As of the initial reports, Trevor remained in custody while the legal process unfolded. His future now rests in the hands of attorneys, judges, and potentially a jury who will have to grapple with this question.
Good morning, Your Honor. Mark Wright and Mary Hickson on behalf of Trevor Lee. We understand that there has been a 2-count indictment. We do acknowledge that, but we are going to enter pleas of not guilty and request a pretrial date. I would also ask the court to consider waiving Mr. Lee's appearance for future pretrials, with the understanding if the court needs his presence, that we would have no objection to that.
Sure.
Your Honor, based on the indictment date, speedy trial would run February 10th of next year, and because of the indictment, the guidelines do not apply. The state also filed 2 motions to compel, one for DNA and one for fingerprints. Those have been discussed with the Public Defender's Office. I don't believe they have an objection.
No legal objection to that, Your Honor.
There have been on air order to compel Mr. Lee's DNA and fingerprints. Mr. Lee, good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Wright has indicated that in the future he may want to waive your appearance at certain court dates. That's up to him to decide. You should consider his advice. Both Mr. Wright and Ms. Dixon are very experienced lawyers. You have a right to get all your court appearances if you want. So if you decide you'd rather come one day when they ask you, just let them know. They'll have you brought over to you. You understand?
Yes, sir.
You'll agree to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, then we'll pass this court date for pre-trial until September 30th at 9 o'clock.
That's fine, Your Honor.
Same?
Yes, Your Honor, that's realistic.
September 30th at 9 a.m. will be a pre-trial.
And Your Honor, Detective Holmes is here to get the DNA and fingerprints if that's agreeable with the court.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lee. I'll see you in September. I'll see you then if you want to waive that appearance, just let Mr. Wright know. Thanks, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor. If the state could
Trevor Lee was arrested and charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. At just 14 years old, he now faces a criminal justice system and a future that looks nothing like what his parents imagined for him. The Midburg community was left reeling. How do you process something like this happening in your neighborhood? David Lee and Brandi Smith were known, liked, and respected. Their sudden and violent deaths left a hole in the lives of everyone who knew them. Friends and relatives gathered to mourn, to remember the couple who'd been taken too soon. They shared memories of David and Brandi's kindness, their commitment to family, their place in community. As for Trevor, the investigation continues. Authorities are still reviewing details. Whether anyone else was home, what exactly was said during that final argument, and whether there were any signs that this could have been prevented. This case doesn't offer easy answers. A 14-year-old sits in custody, charged with killing his own parents. 2 people who should have had decades of life ahead of them are gone. A community struggles to make sense of senseless violence. Some will focus on Trevor's youth and ask about rehabilitation. Others will focus on the victims and demand justice for David and Brandi. Both perspectives exist in the complicated space where tragedy meets the law. Cases like Trevor Lee's leave us with more questions and answers. What do you think could have prevented this tragedy? Could better gun storage have made a difference? Should there have been warning signs? Let's discuss in the comments. I read every single one. If this case affected you or made you think differently about youth violence, please hit that like button and share this video. These conversations matter, and the more people who engage with them, the better chance we have of preventing the next tragedy. And subscribe for more deep dives into cases that challenge everything we think we know about crime, justice, and human behavior. We've got more difficult stories coming your way, and I want you here for every one of them. Thank you for watching. Rest in peace to David Lee and Brandi Smith. And to everyone out there, take care of each other, pay attention to people in your lives, and never underestimate the weight of a single moment. I'll see you in the next one.